Sluncha and howdy do, buckaroos, as we in the St. Patrick's season, if you will. Some just want to have a day, but we kind of make a month out of it here at our house. Anyways, I've got one that I haven't had before. That's the Bushmills 12-year-old single malt. Now, I've had the 10, I've had the 16, I've even had the 21, but I've never had this 12, and it just happened to be more in my budget than, than the 16 and the 21. Yeah, the 16 and the 21, I'm kind of priced out of anymore, but this one wasn't necessarily in my budget either, but I made it work because I really wanted to try it. Anyway, it's an 80 proof. There was another one I thought about trying. I won't mention the name. I liked it because it was a higher proof, but they didn't give me a year. With a single malt, I really like to know the year. Again, this is the 12-year-old Oloroso sherry and bourbon cask before finishing in Marsala cask. So it's a triple wood, giving this triple wood single malt whiskey its dried fruit and sherry flavors. The world's oldest licensed whiskey distillery, distilled and bottled in Ireland at Old Bushmills Distillery. Let me show you that bottle there. I haven't had this before, like I said, and I haven't had it yet, so I'm trying it the very first time with you. I did pour an ounce and a half to take some pictures, but I haven't even checked the nose on it. I had to dig my my Bushmills glass out. I haven't used it in quite some time. So again, Sluncha. Oh wow, wow, that is nice. They say dried fruit and sherry flavors. Let's see. You do get a lot of dried fruit on the nose. You definitely feel some of that sherry as well. But the bourbon cask isn't overwhelmed. You do feel a lot of that vanilla. So dried fruit, let's put a finer point on it. You expect some dark fruit, but I'm getting some other things as well. It's not going to be unusual if you're picking out date and or fig, but I'm picking out some dark cherry, even some stone fruit, a little bit of plum. And some apple. Oh gosh, that's an easy drinker. I've gotten to where I don't drink many, if any, 80 proof whiskeys anymore. In fact, I rarely drink anything under 100 because I love cask, especially if I'm talking about, craft American distilleries. But Irish whiskey is kind of a different animal. This to me, when I drink an 80 proof bourbon, it feels thin, it feels watery, but this does not. This 80 proof single malt Irish just feels luxurious. It's not what I'm going to drink much of at one time, right? I had this, have this system. If I'm going to have more than one pour in an evening, I start with the top end I intend to start with that night, but then I put that away and I work my way down the food chain. Yeah, actually, I'm picking out more apple notes now. Like a dried cinnamon apple. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I haven't had the 16 and probably, let's see, last time I bought that was in 2018, so about 8 years-ish. And it's been about a decade and a half since I've had the 21. But quite frankly, I mean, they are no longer in my budget. I'd have to save quite a while to be able to afford and justify spending that much money. But I will again at some point. But I've been really focusing on American craft whiskey over the last few years. But for St. Patrick's Day, I always want to make sure I have an Irish of some kind. And this year, I really wanted a good single malt. So I went as far as up I went as far up the food chain as I could justify spending that amount of money. So that's why I stopped at the 12. There were others close, right? The Napo Castle 10 was just a little bit less, but I've had that before. The 14 was a lot more than this one. So this one kind of hit right where I felt comfortable. Well, let me say that different. I didn't feel uncomfortable spending that much, but and like I said, I was curious because I used to the first Irish single malt I ever had was about 25 years ago. No, actually more than that, but 27 years ago. And it was the Bushmills 10. And then just before my son was born, I bought the Bushmills 16. That was the first time I'd had that. So there is some nostalgia attached to the Bushmill single malt whiskeys, and like I said, I'd never had this 12 before, so I was really curious, and it is nice. I will say it is worth the money. The Marsala, I'm not familiar enough with Marsala to tell you one way or the other how much characteristics I'm getting from that. But I can definitely feel the sherry notes. I can definitely feel that bourbon cask note. But again, I go back to this whiskey just feels good to drink. I mean, it is so luxurious. That mouthfeel is so perfect. I mean, it is only an 80 proof whiskey, and I am used to drinking more, but there is absolutely no burn whatsoever. And I know this word gets overused, uh, but to steal from the Harry Morgan character in MASH, Colonel Potter, there's not enough O's and smooth to describe it. Because it is just so easy and so pleasant to drink. It'd be one that I like to be sitting on a porch with a couple friends that would enjoy a whiskey of this caliber. We with us each having just one pour and putting the bottle away, then bringing something else out, right? But just sit back and relax with a couple good friends and go, oh man, that is good. It is nothing short of delicious. Gosh, this whiskey is insanely good. I gotta tell you. I'm glad I bought this one. It's been a while since I had the 10. So I thought about buying the 10 just to revisit, but because it was a significant amount less and very reasonable for a 10-year-old single malt. But I really was dying to try this one. So I eventually, made that decision. I went over and I looked at all the Irish first, and picked up this, looked at it, picked up that one, looked at it, picked up another one. Then I said, okay, take a breath. And I went around the corner to look at the beer, took some time to think about it. And then once I got everything else I was going to get, I came back to that section. Okay, let me make an informed decision again. So I looked at everything else again, and then I decided to go with this one. But I will be honest, for me anyway, this whiskey, this 12-year-old single malt from Bushmills, is everything you like or everything I like in a single malt, right? It is, again, it's luxurious. It is subtle, though, which I mean, that's kind of how I want a single malt to be. It's not necessarily brash and in your face, but there are a lot of very delicate flavors, and you just kind of have to wait on it. Wow, it is just gorgeous. There's a reason why I only poured myself an ounce and a half because I've got an ounce and a half glass. Um, but I knew if I poured myself more than that, I would have drank more. So I made myself only pour an ounce and a half so I could just relax, enjoy this little bit with you. So, oh gosh, that is just beautiful. I'm Tom, the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all around good guy. Sláinte and happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Wow, that whiskey is so gorgeous. That's beautiful, man.